Well, here we are. The Buckeyes handled business tonight. They did what they had to do. They got the W. Quinn Ewers, after all of those things he was saying, he loses to the Buckeyes. And obviously, a lot of you will know what I'm talking about. After Texas beat Michigan earlier this year, Quinn Ewers went back and said, well, I've been here before and I did not have the same memory. So, he was kind of taunting Ohio State at that point, saying it was not good enough to win and all of this other stuff. But, in this one, this was quite an interesting game, so I kind of want to cover it quarter by quarter to kind of get, a general consensus. Because in the first quarter, for me, it was really more about Ohio State's defensive line and the offensive line dominating in the trenches. You know, that goes for getting to the quarterback and sacking him, not allowing plays to develop while on defense. That also goes for, scoring and picking the defense apart when you are on offense. Jeremiah Smith was double teamed the entire night. Now, they did have one play where Jeremiah Smith was actually put in motion, and it seemed like the double team kind of broke down a little bit. As soon as that happened, I'm like, the middle of the field is where this ball should definitely go. It should be nowhere else. Jeremiah Smith goes down the middle of the field. The ball was a little bit overthrown, causing it to be incomplete. But if that ball was just a little less, this would have been a 35-14 game. So, yeah, no, Ohio State's offense definitely did their thing in the first quarter. The defense also did their thing. Now, one thing we can confirm is Ohio State does not have a first receiver, a second receiver, or a third receiver. No, 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 no. They have three first receivers and they can all beat you. And they've even proven it in this game very much, as Texas's defense literally proved that they could not cover all these guys from Ohio State. It's a lot to ask for, man, to cover this type of offense. So, a lot of route combinations were ending up in the middle of the field. There was a ball thrown over to the tight end, and that looked a little dicey because there was four Texas defenders in the area, and Jeremiah Smith was coming from the other side while the tight end was coming in from the right, from the left side going to the right side of the field. That was a little dicey. It was completed, but that could have been a big mistake for sure. That ball could have been tipped and picked off at that point. But the route tree was definitely getting a little bit predictable, so they had to depend on the running game, which I'm so glad they turned to the running game because that's what allowed them to score a touchdown in the first place, you know. And sometimes, if that's what you have to do, if your game plan is to run short, shallow routes or digs or double layer routes and they're just not working, go back to fundamentals, go back to running the football, find a way to back that defense up and know that the run is a threat. Throw the ball right over their heads when they press in for the run as they're preparing for it. Dude, still got Quinshawn Junkins and Travion Henderson. Come on. All right, we're going to go over to the second quarter. Now, this one, like I said, they double teamed Jeremiah Smith the whole time. It was very evident they did not hide that they were doing that. Except, remember, on the other side, there's two number one receivers still. So it was definitely getting hard to push the ball down the field. That goes for both Ohio State and Texas all at the same time. But Ohio State kind of ran away from running the ball. They were not running the ball as much in the second quarter. I don't know if this was, something wrong with, there was something wrong with Travion Henderson, and that's kind of what was going on in my head, or why they were not using him as much at this point. But Texas, once again, was still off. They couldn't move the ball either. It was kind of a defensive game at this point. When Arch Manning came in for that 4th and 2 play, he snuck out to the right side of the field and got the first down. But if we're completely honest, he fumbled that ball. That was clearly a fumble. That ball was out of his hands before his knee touched the ground. And then, from there, it's definitely a recovery by Ohio State. But it seemed like the refs did not want to change the pace of the game or the trajectory of the game way too much. So they kind of just went back to saying, okay, you know what? We're going to ignore this and let's just move on from there. Another thing here, Texas kind of got to a point where they could tie the game with about 29 seconds left in the quarter by setting up a mismatch with their running back Blue, and of course a linebacker being on him, and that's very tough for anybody to cover, especially when that's the case. After Texas ties the game 7-7, we have 29 or so seconds left in the half. Ohio State comes out. Henderson gets a screenplay and goes 75 yards down the field in one play. Tremendous. Took the whole entire momentum from Texas from scoring near there in the end, and now the game once again has changed. Going on to the third quarter. Ohio State makes the first mistake in the opening drive in the third quarter. Just trying to force the ball into a place to Jeremiah Smith, but once again, he had three defenders around him. He was being triple teamed in that, triple coverage in that play. And for some reason, the ball still tried to go to him. Obviously, it did not find him, and obviously, that ball was intercepted. Texas was not, once again, they kind of got shut down again. They're not able to run the ball very effectively, and neither was Ohio State. This is all in the third quarter. But Texas started finding some more mismatches. Now, what ended up happening is every time they had a running back go out to the flat, he's not covered. For some reason, the flat, or if the running back is on a delay and he's the check down guy, he was always open. It's almost like we kind of forgot about the running back completely. I'm not exactly sure what was going on there. I'm not sure if that was a coaching decision on the sideline to let the running back run the way that he was so you don't get beat by the receivers, even though the corners and safeties were doing their thing. You know, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but most of their completions in the third quarter were going to Jaden Blue or Wisner or Weisner. Sorry, Weisner is his last name. Those two touchdown completions both went to the running backs. Once again, mismatch and then an uncovered running back. Same thing. The defense for the Buckeyes, was doing everything to lock down, but definitely forgetting that check down, man. And that's something that I think Notre Dame will be able to take advantage of a little bit. They're definitely going to check for that on the sideline. Like, hey, what are my receivers doing? Can they get open? And if they can't get open, can I get the ball to my check down guy before I get sacked? I think they're definitely going to, come up with a game plan around that. And Ohio State needs to be ready for that because that is the next game coming up. So with this in mind, Ohio State has come out with their own sort of check down plays, meaning the receivers had to work really hard to find holes inside that zone coverage, but the receivers were able to get those corners and safeties out of the zone so that the running back and the tight end started sitting in the zone, and Quinshon Junkins and the tight end actually started getting completions. So that started to change the Texas defense a little bit, you know. But for Ohio State in the third quarter, too many plays taken far too long to develop. It just took too long. And at the same time, they're playing way too conservative. I thought the game was too slow. It was too much of a chess match when in all honesty, you could have done more on offense, especially from what we've seen in the last two games. We know you can do much more on offense. So I don't really know what the excuse is. There are also far too many plays going backwards. Man, you see first and 10, oh, there's a penalty. First and 15 or first and 20 or on second and 10, then you got second and 20 and on and on. Too many plays going backwards, too many negative plays for Ohio State. That's something they got to clean up before they play in the national championship, you know, especially with the mental penalties hitting players late. Trevion Henderson obviously stiff arming a player after the play was dead. You know, Ohio State, look, the defense definitely kept them in this game, but in the third quarter, they looked a little bit tired. They started looking like they were getting gassed a little bit, you know. Now, moving over to the fourth quarter, once again, Ohio State has proven that Texas defense cannot cover all those receivers, but some of the plays are just taking too long to develop. They need 3, 4 seconds, and by that time, Howard has to move out of the pocket. He has to extend the plays just to try to do something, And the checkdowns, once again in the fourth quarter, for both teams now were becoming a weapon. Both teams caught on to this. So in the fourth quarter, of course, about 7 minutes left, Ohio State starts going back to the running game and brings another touchdown. Now they're up 21-14. I'm not exactly sure why they kept running away from the running game because that's what was working and being so effective. Well, Howard, even he became a threat in the running game, scrambling for that 4th and 2, and he could have scored if he would have just kept his footing, but he tripped and fell, tackled himself. Texas, well, they were setting up a lot of double level routes. So you pretty much have this, outside, this square out and then a post over top of that. So basically now the defense has to cover two different gaps basically you got to cover grass and hope the quarterback picks the wrong receiver because almost all the time someone will be open. And if the quarterback can get the ball there, it'll be, completed. So they definitely ran over to that tactic. And that pattern, once again, like I said, was definitely working. They started opening up some gaps in the defense, especially with the tight end when he got that 34-yard reception. But then, of course, Taunting brought the play 15 yards back. And then, even with 4 minutes and 50 seconds left, the running back, once again, is for Texas running outside of the backfield on a delay route on the right side of the field, and there's no one there covering him. Good thing they were able to cover him before he got to the end zone, but he got to about the 4 yard line. Then a couple of pass interferences, giving them the ball first down at the one, first and goal at the one. The Ohio State defense stands up strong, man, and stops them, takes them back on a third down at about the 8 yard line. Jack Sawyer gets a strip sack, takes the ball to the house. Even he admits that he was definitely gassed, you know, and it's been a long time since he's had to run such long distance like that. So, you know, the Buckeyes definitely put the nail in the coffin at that point. I'm not exactly sure why the coaches for Texas did not bring Manning in for more than just a one rushing play that he had, because it's something that was working for them in that game plan. So finally, in an overview, what I've learned in this game, Ohio State can play with any of them. Doesn't matter who it is. Regardless of what happened with Michigan, we can still beat the best of the best. And Quinn Ewers, this is it. It's over. This is it. It's definitely Manning's team next year. Quinn Ewers will have to transfer if he wants to stay in college ball, but it will not be at Texas. He will not be a starter at Texas no matter what. I really don't know why the coaches for Texas, especially Sarkisian, I don't know why he played so much loyalty with Quinn Ewers. I would have played Manning at about the midway of the third quarter. Quinn Ewers was just doing nothing after that point. The running backs for Texas really kept them in the game, and that's the truth, you know. But this one came down to, you know, coaching. These guys definitely were playing a juggernaut game. This was not an easy chess match. Like I said, ultimately the Jack Sawyer strip sack is what sealed the game. But then when Texas comes back out, they throw an interception picked up by Caleb Downs. Game's over. Ohio State did what they had to do. They got the W. It's time for a national championship battle against the Fighting Irish. Them Buckeyes is definitely who I got to win this one. I'm a Buckeye myself. You know, in the past, whenever Quinn Ewers talked trash about Ohio State, here he is. He had his chance to beat them. He didn't do it. Now, what are you going to do next year? We'll find out for Quinn Ewers, but it's definitely not the NFL, and he definitely will not be the starter at Texas. So we're going to see what ends up happening for him. But a great game overall, man. This one was a treat.
Thank you very much for your time today, guys. Definitely like and subscribe, and we will have much more coming for you. Have a good one.